Okay, Jenna here with Dip and Fun and the Bookworms and Brushes subscription box. We are going to go ahead and get started with our weekly whimsy inspired by 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is what we are reading right now. And what I'm going to do is tape off my little watercolor paper here to get prepared for our painting. And I have my tape here. I'm trying to think of the washi tape. There we go. Couldn't think of the word. And I am just taking this and putting a little of it on my clothes so I can take some of the sticky off so that it doesn't stick too intense. Here, I should probably straighten those out. Too much to my paper, so that way I can easily pull it off. And I'm just eyeballing the line up with the paper, and then I'm just going to press down the sides to make sure I don't have water running underneath or paint. And then I just so this is unnecessary, really. It's just something that I like to do that creates like a cleaner look. The last one we did for the 20,000 Leagues Inspired, which is this one, I did not do that. I sort of liked the messy edge, but you can see I've done that with some of my others. And you can see I put the holes through those to make them sort of like a little book. You can see some of the other things that I've created. See, that one doesn't have any background at all. But this is something you can choose to do if you like that little bit more clean look. So today I decided I am going to do my fish. So this is, I've already pre-taped, so not all of this will get transferred, and it'll sort of be like the fish is peeking through. You all should have washi tape in your boxes. Lots of pretty colors, sort of ocean inspired, and I'm gonna just cut my fish right out of here. And you all have these in your box as well, your transfers. Got that. Get paper out of my way there. And I think I'm gonna do, I think I might actually do it long ways. Get my fish on there a little better. So I'm just gonna, there we go. So we'll do it horizontal there. And then I'm gonna grab just one more little piece of tape. Tape this right on the top. And I get my fish sort of centered. Actually, I'm gonna do it on the side here. It'll be easier. Oh, forgot a step. Forgot, we need to, on the back here. So you should take your number 2 pencil, is what I'm using. Just a regular old pencil. And get plenty of the lead on the back here. And this will create your transfer. Make sure I cover really good where the fish is. Okay. Now I'm going to center my piece of tape. So I'm going to get my fish sort of centered on there. And then just one corner or side tape down, same pencil. And I am going to medium to hard pressure get my fish basic outline on here. Hopefully you've had a chance to start reading the book, and I've gotten at least a few chapters under your belt for your literacy ocean adventure for this summer. So this, I was looking at some of the other books that I have planned coming up for this subscription, and this is definitely one of the bigger books. Some of the other classics I have coming up are a little bit shorter stories, which works out since it's summer. It's nice to have something So I'm not going to get all of these details put in here, but I am going to get the bulk of them. And I like these transfers because they do have all the detail, but you can sort of just take it as simple or as detailed as you want. And I put a lot of the detail in at the end after I get the painting on. Let's see where we're at. So yeah, we've got most of the fish on there. Get his face a little better. Okay. So you can see, hopefully a little bit, it's a nice light transfer. So I am going to take my pencil and darken some of these up and add some of the details in that I want. I'm not, so if you did the last weekly Whimsy, I went in with my pen afterwards. I'm not going to do that, or I'm sorry, right after this, after I transfer, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to use the pen towards the end. So I'm going to darken all of this up a little bit. I think I'll put a lot more of the rest of those lines back in after I get the basics in. Okay, so we'll go from there. So we've got our, I'll leave that to the side, so we've got our little inspiration going on. And then you can see that we've got like seaweed and stuff. I think I'll probably add that in. Now you can go ahead and trace that on there if you want to, like, you can even move your transfer if you wanted to do something like that. Actually, I might do that. I moved my transfer over and lined it up a little bit differently. So I've got some coral. And then over here, we've got the seaweed. I'm going to add some of that. And probably, yeah. Let me get a little more pencil down here. Now, of course, if you're comfortable, you wouldn't have to transfer all this. You could probably just draw it on, but if you want, it's a way to sort of change the painting up a little bit. And then, of course, you could always do your fish the other direction, or you cannot use the tape because that sort of limits your space. So you can see, I don't know if you can see in there, yeah, sort of see my seaweed and my coral up in the corner. So I'm going to add, make that a little more noticeable. Then I've got some seaweed coming up through here. And then I've got my seaweed up through here. Okay. So we are going to get started with our painting. And I used, if you've got the kit, what I've got out on my palette right now, I've got my white, the yellow ochre, I've got the, what's it called, Booker's green, and then the Viridian, Let's see what other. And then I've got the raw umber, and those are out on my. So we've got dark brown, dark green, light green, tealish light green, and then we've got the white and yellow ochre, which is a darker yellow. So if that's what you've got going on at home, or just something similar, I put today, and I've not tried this yet, I've put my paint on a silicone mat that I use for my glue gun. Sorry, my brain is slowing down for some reason. And I'm gonna see, I think this will peel off after it's all dry, so I'm gonna try that out. Of course, you can just use a plate or whatever you have at home. So I've got my little brush. I think last time we used this brush mainly. Again, this is one of my favorites. I use this one a decent amount. But I'm going to think I'm going to start off with the flat number 8. So you can see it's just like a small flat brush. And then I'm going to get a little bit of water on it. And I just realized, oh, I need a paper towel. Okay, so I've got a little water on my paintbrush. And then I'm going to start with the background. I think I'm going to do like the tealish. Color there. See how the silicone mat works. So I was looking into getting like some silicone. There's these cool little like travel palettes on Amazon that are silicone. That has like the lid. Now I do have a silicone ice tray that actually works super good too. So if you have a silicone ice tray with a lid, that usually keeps the paint wet for a while too. But they're just really deep wells. That's the only thing. So I use it for when I do the bigger paintings. These tiny ones, I feel like. I guess you could just squeeze half your tube in there. Here, I'll show you guys really quick what I'm talking about. Maybe. Oh, here we go. Here's my silicone ice tray. I saw this that another artist did online, so you can see. And then it actually, you push on the bottom, and all this dried paint. So it stays good for a few days. I left the lid off, but all this dried paint just pops right out and peels out, which is cool. And then this, my lid, I use it like a palette. This off too. It just scrapes right off with like a little scrubby if you want to use that, or your fingernail even. So those are pretty cool. So silicone ice trays if you got one. This is the silicone mat that I'm using here. And then yeah, of course you could just use a plate, but if you want to if you're using like, especially if you're using like more expensive paint, it's a good way to get your paint to go a little further. So I'm going right over top of my seaweed. And I'm using my water to sort of get that paint to go a little further, so I can still see my lines. Now I decided on the fish because I haven't got that far in the book yet, and they just recently took off from New York on a boat and getting ready, I believe, to meet Captain Nemo. I think because I've like reread this part a couple times, but it was a while back that I read this part. So, but basically they're not in a very tropical area yet. So this is just going to be a basic Atlantic boring fish right now. And then last week we did the narwhal. In the book it talks about all the weird instances that are happening, and everyone's trying to figure out and speculating about what could do the damage to the boats, like what's in the ocean that could do that. And they talk about a narwhal because of the big horn and the size that it would have to be. It'd have to be obviously like a very large narwhal to be taking these boats out. So hopefully we none of that spoilers for you. It's all pretty early in the beginning of the book, so. Yeah, hopefully this book is very descriptive, which is fun. So it's got a lot of like inspiration just in the ocean life itself and the science of it all. Jules Verne was very into his science, which makes for good, realistic sci-fi for sure. Okay, and then I'm gonna go. I don't know why I was avoiding this part. Go over that too. Okay, so we've got our fish all carved out there. And so I've got my yellow ochre and my dark umber. So I'm going to pick up, I'm going to make sort of a browny color. Not a very exciting color. The East Coast doesn't have a whole lot of fancy fish. I'm going to go down to the tropics for that. Alright, so I've got like our, almost like a khaki color. And I'm going to go, this will be like our mid-tone for our fish. So I'm going to, now you can create like whatever brownish tan color you want to do. Try to get like a wash of this on here, so I'm going to try to water this down so you can see most of my lines. Go right over it. There we go. So when you first put the paintbrush to the paper, you want to go along like an edge or something so you're not covering up any detail right away, and then that way you can sort of pool the color. And hopefully you guys can still, like I can still see my lines. You can see how it almost creates like a shadow right there, even where I first put that paintbrush down, which works out good. So that's why you want to start like along the line, at least for this instance. It creates like that natural shadow. And then you just, like I said, get some water on your brush and pull the color down to where you want it. And then, so this flat brush I'm using, like, I don't know if you can tell, right? I'm using like the edge of it and like sort of the corner of it to carve out the edge of my lines for my fish. And then the flat part just to fill in. So then there we go. I've got the basics of our fish put in. And then I'm going to grab just a tiny more of this brown and mix it in that color I've got to make just a tiny bit deeper. And then I'm going to hold my brush straight up and down and create texture. The tail. And then I am going to grab my little tiny brush. I need to fix the fray on this. So just so you know, I don't know if you go back and look at one of my reels on my different fun, but if you take hot boiling water, these are synthetic brushes, and dip them in and then reshape them, it will remold the bristles. So if you ever get like this where it's all sort of crazy and frayed, which I need to do, but I'm going to put enough paint on here and then I roll my brush and it sort of it's a little frayed, but for the most part, I've got a little more control over it. Need more water though. And then, so through our fish on our paper, we've got like these squigglies. So I'm going to do some of those and see how that goes. I'm using really light pressure, so you can barely see it. A little more of the brown. I'm losing my fin. So there's a fin right here. It's going right over top of me. I need to get that back in there so I don't lose it completely. Almost lost the deepness more in my dark. There we go. I'll start to see it back in there again. And then put a little more of these squiggles, fish, like scales. And then I've got some gill situation going on here. Stir around the face and around the eyes. So I'm picking up more brown each time I go, so I can get a little more intense of like a detailed line there. A little easier to see. And then I'm going to go along the bottom of the fish with the same darker brown, the umber, and some water, and create a little more shadowed spaces down there. Put some texture into that fin. And then I'm going to go back at the end, and you'll see a lot of this will come together with the pen too. We're going to put a lot more of the detail back in there with that ink pen that came in your box. So I need to add a little more depth to that fin there. Add a little bit more. So I'm going in with the straight brown now. And then after a lot of this dries, we will go back in with some of the highlight. And I need a little more. There we go. So I've got some good shadow going on there. I'm going to use a tiny bit of this really dark green and add some of the shadow to the fish with it too. Right over top of that dark brown. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry just a little, and then I'm gonna work on the background a little bit. So I'm gonna go back to, actually, I'm gonna switch back to this brush that we were using the other day, number 5, round. And I'm gonna pick up some of the dark green again and create the seaweed. So as you make the seaweed, you start at the bottom. This is like with trees, or typically with any vegetation. You start where it's thicker and you push and lift and flip. And it creates that thinner top. So you never want to start at the top when you're painting vegetation. You start at the bottom where it's thicker, it gets thinner and it goes up, right? So same thing with like tree trunks and things like that. It's always going to be heavier at the bottom. Flip. So you can see my pressure. Definitely gets lighter as it goes up. Okay. And then I'm going to add an in-between color for this coral back here, but I want to keep it all pretty green because it's sort of background. And then I'll put more detail in there later on with my pens. Okay. And then I'm going to go back in. I'm going to use the same brush. I'm going to wash it out really good. I'm going to use the same brush, number 5, round, pointy. And I'm going to go in with some of my white and give some detail. So I'm starting from the opposite side of the fin of where the shadow is and pulling towards the shadow so that there's like an in-between color. So I went this way with the shadow and I'm going this way with the highlight. And it's the same thing. You're pushing and flipping the wrist because we want it thicker on the one side. Okay. And then you can go off of the tape there and sort of start that, so that way the pool looks right. So wherever you think the fin would finish underneath this tape here, you start there, and then it'll give you a prettier, and you won't get so much like a blob. So when you take the tape off, you'll see. Okay, so through here, I want to do barely any pressure. Very, very light. We're trying to do the same things. Highlights. Highlight around his eye. And across his nose there. Okay. And I need some down his gills. Okay, he's looking pretty cool. And then I'm leaving his eye. I'm going to fill that in with the pen at the end here. I'm going to add a little bit of highlight to my seaweed and my coral back here. I might not put too much detail in here. We'll see what that looks like after I take the tape off. Okay, I'm liking him. He looks pretty cool. Look what he's looking like now. So at this point, I'm going to take the tape off. Hopefully everything comes off smoothly since I stuck the tape to my clothes first. right there. So I'd be on me. Let's see if I can get that off. Alright, so I'm taking water. Maybe not, it might be dry. So this is a clean brush. This is a good way to clean up acrylic if you ever, yeah, it's coming off pretty well. Just water and a brush and just rubbing it. Now if it completely dries, you're not in good shape, but that one, that's pretty good. And then I think I have like pencil in my hand too, so of course it smudged that, but that's alright. Alright, I gotta leave it alone for now so I don't overwork the paper. Okay, so we've got our fish. It's almost dry, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab my pen. So we're back to this pen, and then we've got the thicker side. I think I'm gonna keep using the smaller side a little more. And I've got my, here, I'm gonna move my silicone out of the way. Fish, I'm gonna start with his eyes. That's where it's at. And then, here we go. I'm almost doing like sketching lines through his belly there. And then I want to do where I've got some of the white in his eye to make that pop a little more. My brush in good shape. There we go. Got some of our highlight there. And see, I'm not making, now you can if you want, like make a defined line, but I want it sort of sketchy. We can. And for his lips, I'm going to make a little bit more definition. A little more of like a defined line with his tail, so I'm not doing like the sketching motion with this and like his fins and stuff. So the sketching motion is more for like the areas that I've had shaded. Okay, so like down here. And then do small little strokes down there. little more definition for his fin right there. And same thing here, strokes. And then I go little short ones down at the bottom. And little pen marks there, and bigger strokes. Okay, and I went a little bit outside my taped off area, but that's okay. Still looks cool. Define his lips just a little bit more. So I think I'm going to go around the outside of him a little more. And let me try. I haven't really played with the other side a whole lot. I would say be careful with this side though, because it's so thick. Just don't put a ton of pressure. So I'm going around just the outside with the thick side. And let's see what, I think this will look cool. Give him a lot of definition. Right. I don't think I'm going to do anything to the background. I'm going to leave it like that is and just keep him more of the focus, the fish. I like him. He looks pretty cool. Alright, so there he is. And then of course, don't forget to sign it and date it. And what is it? It's June still, right? So it's 24. Alright. So there is our second weekly Whimsy. Sea creatures, and I hope you guys liked it, and I can't wait to see what you did, and I love it when you share, so let me know what you think. Alright, I will see you guys later.